Hey sausages, welcome to Circle of Tone, and look what we have here. An official Washburn Lion Def Leppard guitar. These were in the lower range, but it has a problem. Look at that neck. Oh no, 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 no. Yeah, I bought it from Facebook Marketplace, and it was sold. The price was right. It was these things actually usually fetch pretty good money, but it was broken and the neck was hanging off it, and there was other things which I found out as well. But we are about to discover, will it Def Leppard? Because hopefully I'm going to use this bad boy at the end of it, and a few of you fanboys will be all happy about that, because a lot of their most famous albums were recorded with one of these bad boys. So let's see if I can fix it. Hopefully I can, and if I do, I'm going to play in the style of Def Leppard. You can't play the songs anymore, but let's go. Alright, so here's me removing the strings, removing the back plates, just to see what sort of damage is going on with the neck. So I like the, you can see the cutaway on it. It's actually good for the access to the upper frets, because I like the concept of it, but it looked like it actually, in practice, it failed. Because if you see here, the two screws closest to the top, they chewed and broke away. So they were too close to the top of the neck, and it's actually a bad design. The neck should have been pushed further towards the pickups for it to get more purchase between the side of the wood and the screws, because the screws are chunky. So what I'm doing now is making a mess, putting some wood glue into the holes. I don't have anything I can inject it in there with, so I'm pretty much jamming it in with toothpicks, and you can snap the toothpicks off and then fill the holes. So I don't need to fill them completely. I do need to fill the sides towards the tops, and I'll show you that later on. Now I'm testing the depth to see how far in I'm going to drill. I'm not going to use a drill that thick. So now I'm going to make sure that I tape off the area on the drill bit so I don't go through the fretboard. So there you can see where I filled in where the tear out happened. So now I have to actually, when I install the neck, I have to just put it maybe 1/2 centimeter further than it used to be, which will actually take it in towards the pickup cover, which I've pre-cut. So it's that could mess with the actual length of the neck between the bridge, so the scale, but I tested it out, and it's going to be okay, because there's enough give in the bridge. You know, I can take the strings back enough for it to be like it was stock. So here we go, going back in. I've already pre-drilled and tighten up the neck. Hopefully it's going to stay on and it's not going to tear out as much. But you can feel, you know, when you give it some welly, when you give it a good twist, you can feel. You're not supposed to over tighten necks. That's a common mistake people make, and they end up stripping the screws and all sorts of stuff. So speaking of stripping screws, I'm just testing now. I'm tightening everything up. I'm tightening the the nut on the switch. I'm tightening up the tuners, things like that. But now I'm going to put some strings on there so I can test to see what's going on with the action and the nut, because you have to have it up to tension. So I'm going to slap some Ernie Ball hybrid slinkies on there. That's the ones I usually use. If I have a really fancy guitar, for my Sunday best, I'll use Cobalt slinkies, only if I'm going to keep that gauge on there, because they last forever and they sound every bit as good as the regular nickel. So what I'm doing now is I'm testing to see the relief on the neck, to see if there's a bow in it. And in this one, there is too much of a bow, so I need to straighten the neck. And to do that, I have to remove the truss rod, and I also have to get a wrench in there and give it a turn. So here we go. I'm knocking the back of it. It's probably an old wives' tale, but every time I go, I'm twisting it, and that'll straighten the neck. And I'm tapping it, and then remeasuring it, and I didn't think it was moving right here, so I thought the truss rod was broken. But then after the second one, give it a bit of a slap, Go slap your bitch up. And then I was like, yes, it's moving. So it's moving in the right direction at least. Very good. One last little wrench and we're good to go, bro. Yeah. So everything was going smoothly up until there. The neck hadn't come off. So when I did tune it up, there was a bit of buzzing. So I had to shim the nut. And to shim the nut, I usually use on cheaper ones. You know, if it was a really expensive guitar, I would plane the wood to match the nut. You know, if I wanted to use the original nut, because I want to keep this stock because it is semi collectible. You know, I usually put a bone nut on there, and I was going to do that, but I thought, no, I'll keep it stock. So heighten it up that. And what I'm doing now is this is a system where you can polish the frets without removing the strings. The sandpaper is really, really light. So all it's going to do is make contact with the frets the way it's designed. It's really cool. So up and down a bit, polish them up. And now I'm going to dust off the fretboard, dust everything off. And I'm going to put Hoser hooked me up with some fretboard cleaner and some regular guitar polish as well. So I'm going to try that out. Got to pamper it and get that flag flying and glowing. So brushy time. So I've shimmed the nut, put something underneath the nut. I usually use playing cards depending on how many I need. And a bit of Gorilla Glue. Stick down the playing card, then stick down this, and it raises the nut, because the middle strings were buzzing when doing basic chords, and that's not good. So I know what you're saying, like, what the hell is going on? Why don't I cut my strings? It's about a year and a half ago when I first started Patreon. I said as soon as I get 100 patrons, I'll cut my strings. So since it's been almost 2 years, right, where I've heard this constantly watching out for my eyes, constantly getting poked. Just sign up to my Patreon for $1. Put me out my misery. I need like 50 people to sign up to Patreon for $1. For the love of God, sign up to my Patreon, because I'm a proud man. So I don't want to cut my strings until I hit 100. Tying his hair back usually works. So this at least keeps him from making the noise. You know? Okay, so now we're going to test the pickups. And we ran into a problem. The bridge pickup was okay. And when I went to the neck, it was giving me some incorrect readings. So I'm switching back to the middle, and still it's giving me a solid reading there. But then as soon as I go to the neck, it's chaos. So I should be seeing something like 9 or 10K on the neck pickup, but I was seeing like anything between 0.5 and 500. So that meant that I had to take the strings off and do it all over again. I was going to put in a circular tone one, because I thought what had happened was the neck had when it bent in and came up, I thought it took out the pickup, because it did actually hit the pickup. It broke the pickup surround and went into the pickup. See, like my hand says, went into it. But that's what I thought. But I was wrong. It was actually, it had come while I was buffing and messing around and changing it and drilling it and this and that. It came off the actual internal pot. The actual neck pickup does work. So I'm testing the neck pickup now to see if it works. And like I say, I wanted to keep it stock, so I'm glad I didn't put one of my pickups in there, even though it would sound better. And here we go. I'm showing off. I'm flexing with my old vintage solder, because I'm a fancy boy. And this is Dr. Octopus. You have to get one of these. If you do a lot of soldering, you know, I'm not paid by these. They didn't give it to me for free. But quad hands, it's so satisfying. The bases snap onto that heavy bass, and you watch how easy this shit is. Because with helping hands, they usually can't reach places that you want them to. And even if they do, they spring back on you when you put anything in their little claws. So these ones are awesome. So you see I'm holding it there, because then I can make an actual physical connection without the solder. I can twist the wires together, and then all you have to do is just warm the area, heat the area, and then add solder and let that flow down, and it'll just flow. The gravity then will take it through and make like a really solid connection. Here's the last one. Looking really good.
It's looking good.
So that's that.
I'm gonna test it.
So we have a fully working guitar. Now I just got to put everything back together, and I actually clipped the pickups around because the neck was now closer, so that I don't get tear out. I won't repeat the issue that happened to it before. Like I say, you can see I've taken the strings back on the bridge, so then it'll be in tune. Okay. So now we're going to give it a little clean. It's good for the soul. I hardly ever polish my I never polish my guitars, but since this is a video and I actually have guitar polish now because Hoser hooked me up, I thought, why not? Let's get this Union Jack flying. Okay, everyone, now is the time. Will it Def Leppard? Good news, it works. So this was great. And what did I use for the gear? If you're new here, basically I try and recreate famous album tones from using the same gear. And in this case, I used this guy. I'll just put some video footage of it. Back in the day, they used a Rockman. The old Tom Schultz Rockman, little box. On a lot of Matt Lang's albums, he never even used amps. He used amps on things like AC/DC, but on this particular one, they lined up hundreds of amps and they didn't like what they heard. According to Matt himself, he said it didn't sound commercial enough. But a lot of people don't know, the actual one that he used was modded. It was modded by Tom himself because he didn't like the original one, and he got it modded to the same specs that ZZ Top used. So ZZ Top used these in the past. I'm not sure what album. If you know what album they used them on, let me know in the comments. But yeah, so I used as close as I could get. I also went through a 1073 style preamp, which added quite a lot of hiss, a little more hiss than they had. So they also used a notch filter. They also used a Palmer speaker simulator. That's like the early days of speaker simulators. And let's check out the guitars that they used, because they used quite a few guitars. They used a 1978 Japanese Strat. They used to call it Felix. It had two stock single coils, and then he put a DiMarzio humbucker in the bridge. So his mother got that from him as a present, because you forget that they were young. But he used a few. They also used a few Charvels. They used a Jackson with the one with the crackle finish. I think he calls it Crackle Jack. And Matt brought in a few of his own, tailies and things like that. And Steve, he tended to use his 3 pickup Les Paul with a Kahler on it, but he ended up using his Strats as well. So that's the main sound you get, is basically Felix is the main guitar that was on it through the Rockman. They used to retune the guitars to do things like open tuning to make it sound, more sonorous. And also, they would, instead of like forming a chord, they would do 4 tracks of single notes. You don't have the one after another, the arpeggio. It actually just all rings at the same time and it sounds weird. I think it was 3 years they took to do Hysteria. It cost them a ridiculous amount of money. So there was one amp on there. There was a Galen Kruger amp on Love Bites on the demo. And it did actually make it to the record. And there's a little bit of Animal as well, the feedback that was on Animal. That was the Galen Kruger amp. But all the sound was the Rockman. If you do have Amazon, I suggest you go on there and check out the making. It's not the making of, but they just talk about the Hysteria album. And holy crap, the producer behind Battered of Hell was actually picked for the job. And they were kind of gutted because it was not working out with him. And they had to spend even more money to get rid of him, to pay off his contract. And then Matt Lang, because it took so long, Matt Lang was busy. Because it took so long, Matt actually became available, and then he took over. And he is probably most famous for being the most anal producer that's ever lived. And from Steve Moster, everybody who's worked with him says that, he can take such a long time just on a bass drum that days can pass. If you want to go to my Instagram, I have detailed pictures of the settings that I used, the settings on my preamp and things like that. And also I try to mimic the plate reverb and the slapback that they used. Chris Poland is coming up next. I've been working on that. I know that is so easy to play. Oh, it's driving me insane. I had to actually use these things. Can I get access to them? When I need them, I can't find them. Basically, I was having to use like carpal tunnel things called, I think they called rock wrists or something. I'll put a picture up here because they sent me some freebies. And normally I don't need it, but on really long practice sessions, like trying to practice Chris Poland, really came in handy. So thanks, chaps, for those. So yeah, not too shabby. Not too shabby. I really liked my version. I really liked it. It wasn't, 100% because theirs was modded. But, mine had more hiss because I had to push the treble and the mids on the preamp a bit. So that would highlight the worst aspects of the Rockman. But I liked it, man. I think it had a lot of that vibe. So proud of this one. I'm playing in the style of before you start complaining. Because, you get copyright stuff with YouTube these days. And that's it. Success. It works. Haha, look at it. It's pretty cool. It's actually a good guitar. The pickups, they've put some thought into this guitar. They really have. Like the actual shape on the body, the cutaway up here, the belly cut, and the string through. It's like they've put some thought into this, man. I had to do a little few things here and there, like shim the nut and do a setup. But I like this thing. This thing is great. It's gonna stay in the collection. And the British thing, I think, I'm not sure. I remember myself thinking that Def Leppard were American. I'm not sure where they're from. Are they from Birmingham or something? Because I remember seeing the bass player, and obviously he looks like a very attractive woman, or pouty and stuff. And then when I saw an interview with him, it's like, "Right, I'm from Birmingham. How's it going?" I was like, "Fuck me! What is that thing?" "I'm from Birmingham." So that's it. A little insight into the gear that they used. And obviously they didn't use anything like this, but this could be an amalgamation of everything because they did use tallies, they did use other stuff. So this, this would have been on one of these tracks. Not as much as Felix. Good to know, right? So, all right. That is that. And if you like these vids, please subscribe. Nobody really in our generation subscribes. They think it's below them, but it's like kills people's channels that you might like. So just give them a thumbs up, give them a like, not just mine, just anybody that you appreciate on YouTube land. And thanks to my patrons of Tone. We got Richard P and Co. You guys are the best. I haven't had any sign-ups recently. Insane. When I hit 100 patrons, I'm going to cut my damn strings finally. Can you just sign up? Can 50 of you sign up for $1 a month just so I can? It's driving me insane. I'm serious. I'm not like, oh, give me the money because I'll end up with what, $30 a month after taxes and all that stuff. But come on, man, throw me a bone. I need 100 patrons. And we are on our way. Circle of Town. Oh, you're playing it wrong. I'm from Birmingham.